The first level of redaction is the player's bedroom, and it was made by me. I modeled it in Magic of Voxel and taught the rest of the team my approach to translating real-life scale to voxels, taking the real-life measurement of something in centimeters and halving it to get a voxel count. The most noticeable element of our game is its stylized shader. The basic logic for the shader was taken from a YouTube tutorial by Daniel Illett. At its core, it works by taking a low-resolution render from a player's camera and quantizing it, meaning it takes the values of the scene and restricts them. Then, this reduced number of values is recolored to our liking. Our shader, however, also recalls sprites, something that Illett's shader didn't do. It finds the exact colors in our sprite palette and recolors them. This way, we can ensure that the same sprite will stick out in any environment. Illett's shader was only ever showcased on sphere objects in his video. I had to figure out how to present the shader output on the player's screen myself. By placing an orthographic camera in front of a plane, scaled at a 16:9 ratio, with a shader output as its material, the orthographic camera renders its view of the plane, and that render is presented on the UI canvas as a raw image. All sprites in the first level and the first therapy session were made by me. These would then go on to act as a rough reference for future sprites made by anyone else on the team. The various item interactions were made by me, all handled by one script. Depending on the option chosen in a drop-down, we could have items you collect, items you read about and collect, items you accept, and more, depending on what the narrative would need. The script detects when the player is near an item via a trigger box, showing an idle hand sprite. A raycast detects if the player is looking at the item, changing the hand sprite. Upon clicking, a dialog box with the text appears. The script knows which text to load in, as the moment the player enters the trigger, the name of the game object with the trigger is checked, and the appropriate text is loaded. This script was reused for most levels, but due to unique mechanics in Charlie's and Jazz's levels, I had to make duplicates with slight adjustments. Charlie wanted a collect and deposit mechanic, whereas Jazz's narrative called for pressuring the player to commit to collecting and destroying items. With the use of post-processing effects and a plugin called Dudeween, I was able to make a handful of transitions between our levels. These featured a glitch fade in and out, a title card fade in, a simple fade in and out. I had initially hoped to replicate a pixel sorting effect for our transitions, but I couldn't replicate it in Unity.
Because apparently an image texture and a render texture are too different. Thank you, Unity.
Anyway, a small cutscene I made that I'm proud of is a fake crash in Charlie's level. Charlie and I had fun making it as we tied it nicely to the narrative, and we even snuck in a few Easter eggs. I should point out the scripting for the fake crash was done by me. The fake crash cmd.exe window sprite was made by Charlie, and the text that gets filled in was made by me via the script. This fake crash was actually the result of a compromise we came to when discussing on Discord. Charlie initially wanted the installation wizard to be a file in the 3D world, like other interactables, but I argued the player might miss it appearing, or simply walk around aimlessly, not realizing we're supposed to click on it. My suggestion kept to his narrative, but also ensured the player wouldn't miss the event happening. By reusing my level as a base for each subsequent level, I quickly created the first therapy environment. All I needed to import were the new environment models. I used the same workflow for our future levels. This saved me from having to recreate the player, the shader setup, and the interactable items. I only needed to change the item text and type. The frame rate in the street plummeted due to the unoptimized poly counts of models from Magic of Voxel. This was tolerable when the player was in a single room, but not once dozens of buildings were loaded. The solution I came up with was to pair each building with a large sprite that faced the player. If the player can see the sprite, the building's mesh renderer is enabled. If not, the mesh is disabled. This greatly improved performance as the game was no longer loading buildings that were behind the player. And speaking of the street level, we found that due to the limited color palette, it was hard to perceive depth. But I came up with a solution I'm quite happy with. By creating 3 spheres that increase in scale, all with a white transparent material and with flipped normals, and then parenting them to the player, I was able to make a rudimentary fog system. We had a planned work schedule in the form of a Gantt chart, but at the start of trimester 2, we had to rework it, as we had wrongly estimated our workload in trimester 1. We quickly adapted it by overlapping in roles more than before, sharing more tasks. I helped Damien by making some buildings when he reached out to me, and I also reached out for help in sprite and audio creation. I also had to make a compromise on Jazz's level. I didn't have an up-to-date narrative, but the mechanics depend on narrative. I alerted her and the rest of the group about this on Teams, but with no clear response from her, I had to fill in the blanks on her narrative with my own proposed version, so that I could start development. She was satisfied with my decision, luckily. And now, time for the quickfire section where I show off a bunch of other things that I did for this project, where I'm kind of happy that I did them, but they're not really big highlights because they're kind of quick and easy. But nonetheless, here they are. The sprite billboarding script that was mentioned previously, but I didn't talk about properly, that was used for a bunch of items. Yes, very nice, very cool. Makes it look at you. What else? The whole glitching redaction thing, kind of the name of a game, by the way. Yep, don't mind me. How did I do it? Yep, a bunch of blend nodes, a bunch of them, all of them actually, every single one. Just bash them all together. I don't know if my mic picked up on the clapping, probably didn't. I don't know what to do about that. What else did we have? The outlines? Yep, the outlines, they happened. How? Flip normal. There isn't much to it, lads. Like, come on, it's just flipping normals for an outline. I think that's it. Peace. Okay, but really, this project was a lot of fun. I've had so much fun working on this, especially in the second trimester. We would just show up together in labs, and it really felt like running our own little indie studio working on this. Where possible and if possible and when possible, I would love to work with these guys again. I've had so much fun. I've been able to learn a lot, just Unity wise. Team working skills improved, communication skills improved. It's just been a blast.